Okay, so again, USTA officiating opportunities and essential information, knowledge check. We're going to be hearing um, from a few presenters today. Want to welcome everybody. And then the webinar agenda for today. We'll do some introductions for the people who will be speaking. We have the newest 3 trivia challenge winners. Congratulations. Quick recap of last webinar. And then we'll go into officiating opportunities, what roles, types of officials are needed, and then talking about how do you get hired. We're bringing on a lot of newer officials, so it's important that everybody knows the processes that each section has. Then we'll move on to essential information and knowledge check, and Anthony Montero will be leading that discussion, talking about scenarios and how we handle things out on the court. And then we'll end with questions and closing remarks, introducing webinar number 3, and then, of course, a few things coming up for the remainder of this year, 2024. So who will we hear from today? Well, we have Mari Taylor. She'll be talking about some of the disciplines, roving, chair, lines, from the perspective of a newer official. She was just first certified in 2023. So we'd like to hear from her. How did she make her way? How did she find her way finding work and everything that she's done to progress? And she's progressed pretty quickly in the last couple years. Terry Cohn, unfortunately, is stuck in a chair, UCLA Med and USC. So Laura McTighe is going to be taking some of her discussions, which will be referee, chief, and then a little bit of lines as well, discipline. And then when we get to the scenarios and knowledge check and essential information, Anthony Montero will be leading that discussion. So there we go. So, dun-da-da. So Chris, you led the Kahoot challenge. So
yes, so we'd like to give a big congratulations to our top three finishers for this month's Kahoot challenge. Carol Choi finished in first place, followed by Nancy Beatty, and then Mark Kazamatis. So we had some more participation this time. I think we had 21 people play. So I'm looking forward to growing that going forward. And thank you for all that did try the challenge this month. And congratulations again to the winners.
You'll be receiving some fun swag, good stuff from the California Officiating Coalition. It's coming your way. So, so I'm going to turn it over to Maria to recap our first webinar, which was a lot about how officials can enhance the player's experience out there. So take it away, Maria.
Yeah, last month we spent quite a bit of time on learning how you can influence and positively impact the tournament experience by building a partnership between the tournament directors and the officials. And on the officiating side, we talked about preparing for your assignment, looking good, being part of the team, communicating in a positive manner, delivering great customer service, knowing your stuff, using your resources, and sharing back feedback. Sharing feedback both about the players, the tournament itself, and the experience that everyone had at that. With that feedback, we can make improvements. Also, I think we came to the conclusion on the last call that approximately 10% of the clients, those would be our fabulous parents, our wonderful players, will give us 90% of the problems. That 90% of them are genuinely good eggs, and there's 10% of them that are going to cause 90% of the issues for us. So just keeping this in mind when we go into each assignment is going to make a better impact overall for the tournament.
Very good. Thank you. So yes, there's a big focus now on player experience, just making sure that the experience is good on the coaching end with facilities, and definitely officiating just does so much in creating a good positive experience for the players and the parents and the coaches. So All right, we're going to move on to officiating roles and phraseology. Thank you, Maria, for that word. Love that word.
Well,
Phraseology.
phraseology.
Phraseology. Okay, sorry. See, thank you. I needed that. Phraseology. We're going to turn this over to Mari, but we're going to talk about some of the disciplines that we all work, especially when we're first starting out. A lot of it is roving. Obviously, there's junior and adult tournaments at all levels. There's adult league sectionals, junior team tennis sectionals, lots of roving in college. A lot of it is non-Division I, so Division II and III and NAIA, lots of roving opportunities there. And then other sanctioned events as they come up. We're going to go to the next slide, which is highlights chairing. Again, chair opportunities with junior tournaments and adult tournaments. A lot of them happen at the higher levels, L1, 2, and 3, for chairing opportunities. Collegiate, Division I events, definitely. Lots of chair umpires needed during college season. And then other USTA sanctioned events as they come up. And then there's also non-USTA events. So there is UTR, there is PTT, there are tournaments that use chair umpires. So, you know, always, I see it, I think we all see it as good opportunities. And then for those people to move more into USTA, maybe working at the professional level and moving on up from there. Next, then we'll end with this discipline with lines. There's still a little bit of line work out there. So there's the Pro Series coming up in Southern California, which starts May 27th. And for 4 weeks, it's going to be in San Diego area. And then for 3 weeks, going to South Bay and the Kramer Club, and then 2 weeks in Lakewood. So I think Laura may touch on this, but there is a line workshop that's scheduled for June 8th in San Diego. So it's definitely geared for the Pro Series that we have going on. So take a look in the Learning Resource Center for that opportunity to attend a line workshop in San Diego. So that's pro events. There are ATP events in our sections, WTA events, ITF events, a lot of it. There's a lot of junior ITFs that land in our sections. San Diego, Claremont. And I don't know the areas in Northern California, but I'm sure the ITF Junior Circuit lands in Northern California as well. And then, of course, there's non-USTA events, but then there's also predetermined high-level events in and out of sections. So there are lines used in the final stages of the Easter Bowl, that's a Girls Nationals in San Diego. So there is line work available at the community level events as well. So with that being said, I want to introduce Mari Taylor. Again, she's a newer official, first certified in 2023. She's going to talk about how she made her way in roving, starting out with roving, doing chairs, going into most likely some line work. So Mari, we would love to hear from you and your journey so far. And we got to unmute Mari most likely. She's muted.
All right, how's that?
Oh, good. I love.
Okay. It was kind of a natural fit for me, just kind of being involved in tennis. I felt like, doing adult leagues and running them for Orange County and kind of seeing what the officials did at sectionals and all that through being an area coordinator. I was pretty familiar with some of the things that they did, and having actually a conversation with Ken at a sectionals, we started talking about officiating, and he really encouraged me to step up and do that as well. So having a base for tennis knowledge definitely helped for that. But, understanding the dynamics of play and knowing the rules are key to this. And, once I decided to do this, I just have that type of personality that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to dedicate myself to it, and I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to be the best I can be. And so that's really my attitude toward it, because I don't want to work towards something and not feel like I'm excelling in it. That's just an attitude. So I think that's important when you step in to a role like officiating, is to be confident, but also commit yourself to it. And that's how things start to happen. It was interesting because, at the beginning of the journey, you take a lot of these online tests. And at first you're like, oh gosh, this seems so basic. I can do this, right? But then as you start to take it, all the little nuances of all the rules start to become like, oh wow, okay, yeah. Do I just know this off the top of my head, or do I need to study? And by doing those online courses, I kind of equated it to like a DMV test. Like, I drive every day, I'm a great driver and all that. And you go to the DMV to take your driving test every few years, and then you don't pass. And it's like all those little rules that you don't ever think about come into play. And that's part of officiating, is knowing that. So I was like, oh gosh, okay, I have to take every online course. I have to go to every opportunity I have. So when the in-person workshops came open, I was looking for them. I'm like, I'm going to go to every workshop I can. I'm going to watch every online course I can. I'm going to watch every Q&A, every webinar that I have time for, because the most important thing I feel is being prepared and showing up prepared. Because as I say, you only get one time to make a first impression. If I show up and I'm not prepared, then no one's going to trust me. And I have to prove myself that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up 100% prepared. I'm going to study. I'm going to study before every assignment. And as you start to do that, your knowledge just grows so fast. And so that's really what I decided to do to be successful. I didn't want to do it if I wasn't going to be successful. And so starting with adult leagues was something that I understood, but it's also a great place to start with adult leagues, is because there's less pressure. You don't have to be so involved, but you can learn at the same time and learn what the officials do. And you're always learning from people that have been around a lot longer than you. I listen to everything that someone tells me, like all the officials that have been doing it for 10, 20 years, I learn from, because they always have input. And my attitude is like, okay, I might already know what they're telling me, but I'm going to be respectful and I'm going to listen to what they're saying, and I'm going to thank them, because I want to hear everything they have to say, even if I already know it, because I'm going to learn from their perspective. And I think having that attitude helps you to be a good team player, to work together, to have them trust you to give you assignments, is because they know you're going to listen and want to learn, but also be a team player. And so I think that's really important. And just by studying and being ready when you have to make a split-second decision, you're ready, So it's like, I know that I know the rules. I had a good base of the rules, but I know that I'm taking the time to study all the rules, every situation. I'm so thankful for a lot of the things that are available online to learn. But just by starting with adult leagues and then going into juniors has a little bit different rules. It's way more involved. You're on the net post for the most part. You've got crazy parents. You've got a lot going on at juniors. So transitioning to juniors is a good second step, because it gets you into a faster pace, more involved, more split decision type of scenarios. And so doing, graduating into junior events is good. And then, then I decided very quickly that I definitely wanted to do college. That is actually the thing that was a goal for me, is I wanted to do college, because I thought that was really where I thought would be the most fun for me, but the most, just something that I wanted to do. So I went to the chair workshops. I inquired on everything I could, like with Anthony, and, just trying to learn, trying to get assignments, making sure that when I got assignments, I show up on time, I come prepared, I know the rules, I know everything I need to do, because I wanted to be on that level. And so I did all the things to get myself there. And, like just staying confident by being prepared can, prove yourself and earn respect, and, keep learning and always evolving like that. I just think it will pay off. Your hard work will pay off. If you try to exceed expectations every time you show up, it will pay off. You will get assignments. You will move up the ladder, per se. You will get more and more disciplines. And so just by doing that, I feel like I've gained so much experience, even just in the last year, just by dedicating my time and my efforts to doing the best job I can. Like, always trying to be the best I can every time. And I know I keep saying that, but that's important. It's like, it helps with your confidence. It helps with your decision making. It helps be a team player, is just knowing what's expected, what you have to do, and knowing the rules. And just that, it will help you on your journey.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, I've been thankful to be on the journey with you a lot of the way. It's been,
Yeah.
I've seen you grow so much. So will we see you possibly at the in-person line workshop in San Diego, possibly on the 8th, to add that discipline?
Oh, totally. I'm always looking for workshops. I always like everything that put out for ATP, like every Q&A, every stump the official, I do them all, because that's how you grow.
Okay, well, I hope you'll take a look at that, and we'd love to see you there in San Diego on June 8th. So
And can I just say something about the workshops also real quick?
absolutely.
Okay. And you brought up a good point, because these workshops, I always feel that it's good to go to all of them and all of the different disciplines, even if you don't want to be a line umpire. Going to the line umpire workshop, learning how to call lines will actually help you as a rover and as a chair umpire. Going to the chair clinic, even if you don't want to be a chair umpire, getting the basic techniques as a chair umpire will help you as a roving umpire. So they all work together. And so even if there's something that you don't think that you want to do for the long term, I stress this to new umpires whenever I can. Go to all the workshops, because you're going to learn stuff that's going to help you in other disciplines all the time.
Very true.
And I think as far as workshops go, I think it's great when we can all come together personally, be together and discuss in person, just scenarios, how we handle things, what we do out there on the tennis courts. So whenever we've got those opportunities, we do a great job. We fill up those opportunities. So I thank all the officials in California that support the workshops. But yeah, everybody take a look at it. Chris, that was a great way to summarize workshops. If you haven't done one, give it a try. It's going to help support whatever you want to do in your journey of being a tennis official. So, Mari, I just want to thank you so much for agreeing to speak about your journey. And I know the sky's the limit for you, so it's exciting to see. So I want to move on to the next part, which would be referee in chief. And we're going to have another dynamic guest speaker coming up to talk about referee in chief in line. So overall, referees and chiefs, referees definitely for L7 to L1 tournaments. We're trying to get referees listed for all well, I think it's mandatory for L1s and L2s and L3s that are open, that the L3 closed 4s and 5s, we're trying to get referees listed on those tournaments as well. So that there's a tournament director and a referee for those levels of tournaments. Referees and chiefs, four-star referees are used at adult league sectionals, junior team tennis sectionals. ITA collegiate events, definitely referees come into play. There's a referee for every one of those dual matches, pretty much. Other USTA sanctioned events as they come up. Also, site referees. So for the larger events, if you're using multiple sites, usually if you want to go the route to become a referee, then you want to express interest to be a site referee. It's a great opportunity to move into that referee role if you feel like you just need a little work. And then chief of officials for high level junior and adult events and pro events. So Laura McTighe is going to be talking about a lot of these disciplines and opportunities. I met Laura in 2009 in New York at the US Open. I think that's where we first met many moons ago.
I think it was our first Open together.
Yeah, that was both of our first US Open, which was a blast. But yeah, just Laura's just one of those great just people in tennis, and she has a great wealth of knowledge. She's very involved with referee and chiefing out there. She does a lot of collegiate work, and take it away, Laura. So.
All right. I also am a trainer, so I'm a national trainer for the referee
That's right.
part of it also, and the roving, which Carol Kim sent out a little hit here too, that NorCal is having, just to let everybody know, in-person line on June 2nd. And we have a national roving on the 15th and a national referee on the 16th. And just like in SoCal, if you're interested in those, go to the Learning Center and sign up. I also do a lot of the last checklists for new officials, and they are always asking, what do I do next? How do I get involved? Just like Chris had mentioned, and I think Ken too, always look for opportunities to do an in-person class. Take all the online classes you can take. Sign up for any in-person, whether it's your section, and then national. And if those people, if you want to become a referee on a higher level, you know, you need to have some back work and some other things that you've done within your section, and maybe you've done some higher ones in your section. Make sure you take an in-person national class, and whenever the opportunity comes and you have all the work in, apply. It's called the Center of Excellence in Orlando. Those, if you are able to get in, are excellent, awesome opportunities to further your refereeing career. They have disciplines in referee, lines, and chairs. And chiefs. They just started the chief one last year. I didn't have that when I came up through, and it's just been a great opportunity. I did go to the referee COE, so I'm part of that program. That once you pass and you talk about what you want to do, there's a mentorship program they have. So maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but that's for referee. Ken, you want to add anything like from your section?
I mean, I think a lot of it, and moving on up, is just being available to learn, you know, any online course you can take. And then when the opportunities come up,
Right.
and you know that there's multiple sites being used and the referees looking for site referees, definitely raise your hand and say, hey, I'd like to be considered. I'd like to do this. I think I've got what it takes to be an on-site referee, because you are the point of law at that site. Like
Right.
you're handling all the weird stuff that comes up. So just take those opportunities when they come up and ask. You know.
And the other thing too, and we don't train this and we don't teach this often anymore because we rely so much on draws being done automatically. But look at your friend at court and learn how to do a draw. Learn what a draw means when you have a seed withdraw. How do you replace them? What about a non-seed? What about one part of a doubles team had to pull out, but the other doubles player still wants to play? How do you handle it? The draw's been done. What do you do? And these are things that really we don't teach anymore. But as you move up in refereeing, you will be tested on that. So you do need to know things. Part of the Center of Excellence is preparing you to, if you wish, it's whatever path you wish to take as a referee. If you wish to go into the pro circuit, it is the path to get there. You do have to pass a test. It's a written test. And they're not easy. So, and part of it is knowing different parts of the rules, different weird things that come up, and how to do the draws.
And I think to add to that, at the section level, when you're the referee, you work closely with the tournament director and the tournament committee. I mean, you are, you are a team. So it's important that as the referee, you're looking at the scheduling that's done, you sign off on it, you get the master scheduling plan from the tournament director, so you know how many officials that you're going to need for each site. How many courts are they using during the course of the day? Are they starting out with 4 courts and are they building? What does it look like, so that we have the right amount of officials there at each facility to handle the stuff that goes on out there on the courts. So I know a lot of times tournament directors end up just doing the scheduling on their own and nobody takes a look, but really the good eyes is the referee.
Right.
And referees really should be looking at scheduling and ratios of officials to courts and all that good stuff so that the tournament runs well.
Good point. And also know, have the, I'm not thinking of the word, but if you have 2 players from the same club playing against each other in the first round, look to where you make sure that all those have been taken care of. That those, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Code, same city, zip code.
Same cities, brothers are not playing
Avoidances,
together. What's that?
avoidances.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. Thanks, Maria. Make sure you have all those. Sometimes I think tournament directors, when they're doing the draws, aren't putting all those in. And as a referee, it is our responsibility. The draw it's our responsibility that we have done it to the best that it can be done.
Absolutely. So, and as Laura has talked about and Mari talked earlier, anybody who has questions about any of this, I mean, I hope you can reach out to any one of us to ask. We're just here to help you in anything you want to do. So if you let me know what path you want to be on and what journey, I'm here to help you. I know Laura is, I know Maria is, I know Chris is, Trevor, Summer, we're all here to help you any way we can. Our section chairs obviously are so invested. Laurel and Jill. I forgot who are the chair and vice chair in NorCal. I know Carol Kim, correct? And Tom, is it Tom McTighe? The two.
No, not Tom, but I know Carol is.
Okay. So anyway, the point is we're all here to help with your journey. So
I'm sorry.
We have subcommittees.
Yeah, we have subcommittees here, so.
Okay.
So we talked about referee. I'm going to move on a little bit about chief. It's not as big, maybe as referee, because there's so many opportunities for referees, like we said, in so many different disciplines. with ITA and juniors and adults and pro circuits, if you wish. As far as chiefs, I know that Southern California, they use chiefs at some of their higher level junior events. They have a chief and a referee. I'm not sure how you guys set it up. Does your chief do the hiring for that, or is it your referee?
I think it's both. The referees keep work together.
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of times the chief is the referee.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I do pro circuit chief, and in fact I am the first. I have the first 4 in San Diego of your summer series. I'm not sure if I was crazy or what, but anyway, trying to get the 4 off the ground. It's gonna be fun. I do look for opportunities to help new line umpires. And I have seen in my signups that there have been a lot of new officials signing up. I think we need to help get the word out that I like to see that they've taken all the online classes they can, and that they have taken at least one in-person training. Trying to come out and be a line umpire without that one day in-person training. My things are they're the 15Ks. I have new chair umpires and then a new line umpire at the same time with maybe no training. It's not a good combination. So for me, I want to take care of the players. As a chief, your job is to take care of the players, the chair umpires, and the line umpires, and make sure lunch shows up, and make sure you get paid. So those are the 5 things that, we kind of look to do. But seriously, I do love when we bring in new people on the lines. And so I'm looking forward to, I think it's the USD site that you will be having your line umpire.
It'll be at Barnes Tennis Center on the 8th.
Oh, it's on the 8th. Oh, yeah.
Well, the class is at Barnes on Saturday the 8th.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, that'll be a great opportunity too, because that's a good site to have people go in and off court on easy.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. And I always look forward to watching that too, because we did that 2 years ago. I think I worked with Anthony Montero to get that happening, and they sent 2 people from the national office to do a line clinic at USD that one year. And I've since hired quite a few of them down there, so it's kind of fun to see their progression. So as a chief, if you would like to think about doing chiefs, be a chief maybe on the pro circuit, you do need to get it's called getting your white badge. And part of it is then maybe I want to be a chief. I have had some of my line umpires have said that. I've mentored quite a few of them. They have now 3 of them have gone to the first COE as a chief, and are working some events, and will probably then be taking their white badge test in the near future. So that's exciting for me to see some of them grow in their journey too.
Yeah, you have a lot of people in chairing who want to go that route as well. They want to be seen and evaluated in the section to hopefully move up into pro circuit level, and they want to be a white badge chair umpire. So those are definitely real opportunities, and we continue to look at the section's chair umpires for the next ITF pro circuit chair umpires. So
correct, and the way to do it is the same way that we talked about. Work in your section, take an in-person class, be seen, get some evaluations, hopefully.
Yep.
And then apply and work at it's called a COE. This is for chairs now. Apply and work at a COE, pass the test with the COE. And then what they do in the USTA office is they take their top recruits from that group, and they ask you to work Orange Bowl and as a chair umpire, and you're working with other chair umpires that are badged and very well known and very good, and they become your mentors. And then from there, they place you at, I think the Indian Wells was there, and they had the same people or others, other badge chair umpires mentoring other people there too. From there, if they are feeling very confident with where you are in your journey, they being the USTA office in the Pro Circuit Division, which is Neil Kitson, then you start applying online on your officials first for tournaments, and hopefully once you get the green light from them, that you get hired and sent to different events, and your journey keeps growing. And then hopefully then you're able to get into a white badge class and take your white badge test and pass, and there you go. Now you have a new journey.
Yes. So thank you so much, Laura. In the essence of time, it's 7:08. I kind of want to wrap up this topic of conversation, but I appreciate everything you had to say. And it's tennis. There's a big journey for tennis, and you just let us know what your path is, and we're happy to show you how to get there. So thank you. Now for all of us section people, we want to get how do officials get hired, and then how to get hired for officiating jobs, which is the next slide. So Chris, I'm going to give you a minute, and I'll take a minute because we want to move on to Anthony in scenarios, which is going to take a while. So
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be very brief.
Okay.
You know, as it states here, sometimes, you know, the tournament director hires their referee and all of their officials. Sometimes the tournament director will want the referee to hire their officials. Those are for tournaments that are not run by the section. And I think on the last webinar, I think Andrea Norman had touched on that also, and Eric Stevens, about how they work. Sometimes we get emails from tournament directors who need officials and can't find them. They reach out to me or somebody at the section, and then we try to help them find an official or whatever they need. For events run by the section, such as league sectionals, junior team tennis sectionals, I work with whichever department is running those events to hire the officials for those events. And then for collegiate matches, I work alongside with the NorCal Umpire Committee for assigning all of the Division I, Division II, Division III, and NAIA schools in NorCal. Some of the community colleges, when they have playoff matches, they have arrangements with officials. They hire their own officials. But we assign all of the D1, 2, 3, and NAIA schools throughout the section.
All right. Thank you so much. Southern California, there's been an system, umpire matching platform, that's been around for, let's say, 25 plus years, that is used to put events on. A lot of time, assigners, referees, and chief use to post tournaments, looking for officials to work. A lot of times, assigners work as referees and post their job opportunities on and they send out invitations to officials when they post a new event. Event details usually will give the pay rate, lunch, and other incidentals, important stuff for if you're applying for work. Officials First is also an opportunity. If you look at the community events listings, you can do it by date in Southern California, and it'll give you all the tournaments going on, the tournament director, and their contact information. So for events that aren't on you can find events on Officials First. If you have questions about that, I'm happy to help you with that. A lot of tournament directors, they hire directly. They have their, they just know officials. They don't go through an assigner. A lot of these events, again, can be found in Officials First and in Serve Tennis if you're looking at tournaments in your area to get in touch with tournament directors. Definitely assigners are used for collegiate opportunities. Pretty much that's how it's done for ITA work, which is generally 3 months, February, March, and April, lots of ITA work during that season. Another way to find work is just ask your fellow officials or get in touch with the junior and adult staff at the section office. And for the San Diego people, most of the work is assigned through the Umpires Association. So that's one of the very few associations that are left, and that's how they do most of their assignments there. So, all right. So that's, if you're not sure how to find work, those are some tips, and we're here to help you as well find that. We're going to move on to knowledge check and essential information. We have Anthony Montero with us, who's the director of ITA. Also, he's a USTA trainer. And I think there's a title called legal counsel for ITA as well, but he wears many hats. He wears them well. So we're going to have Anthony take it away. We're going to discuss some scenarios, and we're going to go from there. So, Anthony.
Thank you, Ken. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So we all often wear many hats. For this webinar, the hat that I will wear and focus on is, as Ken mentioned, I am a USTA trainer. I teach the chair, the roving, and the referee course. I'm also, this summer, if anyone is going, I'll be teaching the Centers of Excellence in Orlando for referee and for roving. And then for those of you in NorCal, because they tend not to give us people in our section, I may have done your knowledge check, because I'm also one of the people who does the knowledge check. So that's, I've been an official for 20 years for those that I don't know. And so that's kind of my background with my USTA hat on. What I thought we would do is jump right to the, in light of the time, we'll jump right to the questions, and we'll then talk about the topics raised by these polls. But also, if somebody has a rules question that is not addressed in these polls, feel free to type it in, and I'm sure Ken or someone will type it out. But let's start with the first question, and there they are, and you can go ahead and vote on those. And for the first one, you might, I'll just give you that there might be more than one correct answer, so you can
choose all that apply.
We think you can choose all that apply.
We're going to give it a shot.
Can everybody see the results? Okay. Do you want to do all four, Anthony, or go through one by one?
Will you be yeah, let's go one by one if we can. I don't know if that's going to mess you up. Let me know.
Let's see.
All right. So our first question is, a player can call a let on their opponent during a point in play. Which of the following? And so which one of these can a player call a let on their opponent? Hopefully you've chosen A and C, right? And kind of the teaching point here that you just have to memorize the rule is that, yeah, you can call a let, as you know, for a ball falling out of your opponent's pocket or your opponent's hat falling off. But you can never have a hindrance let, and you can never call a hindrance let if your opponent drops their racket or otherwise loses their racket during the point, or if they step out of a shoe. And those are not really intuitive. A lot of people think, oh, if I'm playing Ken Grassel and I look over and Ken is now has one shoe off and one shoe off, that I can call the let because that shoe is distracting me. And the fact of the matter is you can't. And I wish I could tell you a good rational, logical explanation to follow it. I think this is just pure memorization of the applicable ITF rules. The argument I've heard is, just like when your racket is out of your hand, your opponent is disadvantaged if he has one shoe off. And so I guess that makes some sense, but I really view this as just rule memorization. And you really do have to know when you can call a let and when you can't. And then as far as the ball falling out of your pocket, remember that it's not automatic. If you're the rover, or the chair umpire, and the ball falls out of the opponent's pocket, you immediately, from like a procedures and techniques, want to shift to the other side of the court, because that's the person who can call the let. And if you see that person hesitate, stop, look at you in any way, that's when you're going to call the let, because they've indicated that they want the let. But if they have an easy overhead at the net and they don't hesitate in any way, shape, or form, and then they hit that overhead, that ball continues and that ball is in play. And particularly if it was me hitting that overhead, if you hit the ball into the net and or hit the back fence, before the ball bounces, you don't get to say, oh, wait a minute, that ball fell out of the pocket and it hindered me. If you made the decision to keep playing, and as the official, you immediately turned and looked and saw that person keep playing, then the point is going to stand however it is. And you do not then get to, after 4 or 5 shots, say, oh, you're calling the let for that ball that fell out of the pocket, I'm going to give that to you. So this is like one question, but as you can see, we easily covered 8 or 9 scenarios and different rules that apply on just this one question. And you have to know this rule cold. I totally understand if you're a first or a second year official, and that you still struggle a little bit with this rule. That is okay. Keep running it through your mind, keep running it through. I do index cards and flip them over to see if I'm getting it right. But if you're a 8, 9, 10-year official, you should have this down cold. And unfortunately, we don't. I still see the grievances filed, and we get all the time where either the official allowed the let after the opponents the rover allowed the let after they kept playing out the point or they called it immediately when the opponent actually didn't even want it, and the rover called it immediately as soon as the ball fell out of the pocket. So you got to really, this is a very counterintuitive rule. We were, particularly if you've been an official as long as I have, this is a rule change. And so, we had to get out of that habit of immediately calling the hindrance let, an unintentional hindrance when we saw it. You really do have to take that breath, focus your eyes across the court and take a look at that. And then the last thing is you just got to memorize the rule that, remember, it does not apply for anything related to the racket or anything related to the shoes. Next major issue is medical timeouts. And here in a USTA match, and we'll even say a USTA junior match, right? What is the protocol for when there is no trainer present? And I like this question because that's the vast majority of our junior matches, right? With the exception of sectionals, I know here in Southern Cal, and my guess is it's probably the same in NorCal. With the exception of sectionals, you generally do not have a trainer in a junior tournament. So what is our MTO for the vast majority of time that we're going to be roving? And the answer is, at the conclusion of the 3-minute treatment, officials should say treatment complete, then call time when the official knows that the player is ready to resume play. Okay, so Maria, can we go back one sec to the prior slide? Okay, so a lot of people are still giving 5 minutes for a thinking, 5 minutes MTO automatic. You got to remember that in most, as we said, most junior events, there's no trainer. There isn't a diagnosis time. So it's just going to be 3 minutes for treatment. And that includes if the parent tells you they're a trainer, which we had, I remember, at a junior tournament. It doesn't matter if the parent's a doctor, the parent's a trainer, if they're a physical therapist, does not matter. They don't get the advantage over a parent who, who's a school teacher. If there is no formal trainer hired by the tournament, the MTO is going to be 3 minutes once the medical procedures and MTO process is explained to them. So we do have to kind of get off of that 5 minutes automatically going to 5 minutes, because that is the number one misapplication of the MTO that we see. The officials allowed 5 minutes. Cramping and not a medical timeout. we'll kind of put that aside for a second. I mean, but the short answer is whether or not that's true, is that that's not always going to be the situation, and you're not going to be able to make the judgment that that's cramping. A player is going to tell you that their leg hurts, or that they feel like they're having a cramp. You can't just automatically jump in and say, well, that's not a treatable condition, so you don't get the MTO. And then I want to hit D real quick too, because this is the other thing we're seeing a lot of. Okay, you got it right. You knew that it's only 3 minutes, so you're counting it down. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. You're doing a good job of telling both the player who's getting the MTO and walking over and telling the opponent. And then when you get down to, you even do a 30 seconds to make sure, and then you yell out time. And if you take a look in the chair umpires and techniques pamphlet that's published by the USTA, that's actually incorrect verbiage. You should be saying treatment complete, right? And why do we say treatment complete versus time? Because remember that depending on what the player had during that MTO, you're going to give them a reasonable amount of time to get ready. That does not count as part of their 3 minutes for the MTO. So for example, maybe I'm the junior player and I had my shoulder rubbed by my parent, coach, or friend who was there, because like I said, most of these MTOs are occurring without a trainer. Well, maybe I took my shirt off so that I could have some Bengay rubbed on my shoulder, right? Okay, you're going to say treatment complete because I get an extra 5, 10, 15 seconds to put that shirt back on and to get out there before you're going to say time. Because remember, once you say time, I literally have 25 seconds to be ready to play. And if you say time when I have my shirt off, that means that you are counting in that 25 seconds me getting ready to put that shirt back on and get out to play. And you may say, well, Anthony, what's the big deal? And in that scenario, it's usually not a big deal. But now, suppose instead of my shoulder being rubbed, my parent, coach, friend was taping my ankle. Well, now it is going to take, and so you said treatment complete as opposed to time. And so that coach parent who's acting as a trainer stops the treatment, but I still need to put my socks and shoes back on. So I need to put my socks back on, then put my shoes back on and tie it because I was getting my ankle taped for that 3 minutes. I am not going to be ready to play in 25 seconds. So if you didn't say treatment complete and you said time, well, guess what? You should be giving a code violation in 25 seconds if I'm not ready to play. And that's a problem because you are now charging me for that time to get ready to get back to play. So you want to make sure you say treatment complete and then wait a reasonable amount of time. And people get really frustrated with that because they're like, well, Anthony, what's a reasonable amount of time? And I can't give you a black and white answer because it's going to depend on what happened during the MTO. And I just went through the two extremes. If all it was a person maybe lifting up their shirt to get their back rubbed a little bit, reasonable time is going to be 5 or 10 seconds between when you say treatment complete and time. But if that person had their ankle taped, you may have to give 90 seconds to 2 minutes from when you say treatment complete to time, and they are putting their socks and shoes back on. So I know we love black and white answers, but we really do with MTOs have to take a step back, walk through the process, walk through the correct verbiage, and then realize all of the rules that are applicable. And the number one question missed by both USTA and ITA officials is that concept that if you take a medical timeout and you are not ready to play, by rule, it is not a time violation. It is a code violation, delay of game. If you're not ready to play after you've taken an MTO, it is not a time violation. So that's another reason why it is so critical that we say time when we've given the player reasonable time to get ready to play again. So MTOs, by far the biggest and most misapplied area and where we have the most problems, and that's across all levels of tennis. So another area that how do you get this down? It's just reading the rule, talking about it with your friends, talking about it with your mentors, all the things that all of our other speakers have talked about tonight. Is just instead of talking about how to get hired, you're talking about the rules and you're going through the rules practices. I'm a big proponent of the flashcards, but I'm old school. Half the officials working today would look at me and say, what's a flashcard? So, but that's how I learned it, was through flashcards with the answers on the back. Okay, next one. Settling scoring disputes. if those of you that have been in my class know, I'm not big on citing the rules, code section rule 14, but there is one code section everyone should know, and that's code section 32. Okay, and that is settling scoring disputes, because you are absolutely, if you're a rover, going to come across a scoring dispute. You may never have an MTO, you may never have an overrule, but you are going to come across a scoring dispute. It's just inherent in the roving and in junior tennis, right? And so the question is, what is the first step, which is, but by definition, the most preferred step for settling a scoring dispute? And what we've seen here, I'll kind of help you guys out, is that a lot of people answer A, okay? And that is not the first step, okay? So I'm going to give you that. So what is the first step? Hopefully you answered D, right? Remember, code section 32 has 3-step process, okay? Step 1 is count all the points in that are agreed upon and figure out the points that are in dispute and replay only those disputed points. And that could result in a player serving from the ad court twice or from the deuce court twice. And that's okay. And people freak out about that. Oh my gosh, we disagree on the 3rd point, but it's also 30-40 once we figured out that point. But that can't be right, because I'm going to serve from the ad side 2 times in a row. That's absolutely allowed and envisioned under code section 32. So figure out the points in dispute and replay only those points in dispute. Then code section 32, if you cannot figure that out, it's mutually agreeable score. And then the 3rd step is the nuclear option. You're going to do the coin toss. With the coin toss, I often tell people you're going to pull out that coin. You're not going to do like the pre-match, who would like heads, who would like tails. If the dispute was between Laura and Maria, I'm going to say, okay, guys, we've been out here for 2 or 3 minutes. We do not agree on any of the points that were in dispute. We have tried to find a mutually agreeable score. You two cannot agree. Heads, it is 15-40. Tails, it is 40 love. And then I'm going to wait 1 second before I do that coin toss. And I will tell you 99 times out of 100, the players will agree on a mutually agreeable score before you do that coin toss, because for whatever reason, they would rather have some say in their fate than leaving it to chance. And so wait that 1 second before you do the coin toss, but you had better be prepared, if they don't budge on that 1 second, to in fact toss that coin. I had a newer official last year mention to me he had been doing it for about 8 months, and he said he had 11 coin tosses. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if you're doing this right. I will tell you, in 22 years of officiating, I've done the coin toss once. It is not that common, and especially if you do that half a second wait, they will reach a resolution, because you will find that the players would rather have some say than no say in what the potential resolution is. Once again, code section 32, the only one that I ever think you need to be able to cite. And just a reminder as well, code section 32 does not have ask the parents as one of the 3 steps. It does not have look at video, even though you are going to come away, if you look at the video, with the accurate answer. But I did just the other day, was working at USTA Juniors, and I saw a rover, one of our newer rovers, in the stands with the parent for a while. And I walked over, and they were literally sitting there watching the video, keeping the score, Now, you were going to come away with the absolute correct answer. You absolutely were, but you are absolutely wrong for doing that, because my response to that official was, you show me in code section 32 where you have the authority to determine this score via video review. So just remember, video review and asking parents, polling the audience, is not a resolution to a way to resolve the scoring dispute. But I get it, we want to get it right. So we come up with ways that how could we possibly figure out what the score is, but those are not acceptable options under the USTA rules. And yeah, have I come off court and a parent stopped me and said, you're wrong, it was 30-all on that court. And I've just looked at the parent, I've said, all I can tell you is that under code section 32, we reached a resolution that both parties agreed to, and we're moving on. All right, which brings us to our next one, which is parents. And so we've all seen this or been present for it. A parent is too involved in his child's match. and you need to address the situation. What's your best course of action here? What's your best course of action here? And hopefully you have answered A and B. And why is that? I just got to be honest here. And over the last 5 years, I think our pendulum has swung and we're being a little too strict with parents. I have seen things that have just made me cringe when I'm roving. Now, yes, are there parents out there who coach their children and who are cheating? Yes, there are. But there are also lots of parents out there who simply just don't know the rules. And we need to be careful and remember that, like, parents are part of our customer and we are trying to be a customer-based service. Now, that doesn't mean the customer's always right, and that doesn't mean we bend over and do whatever they say. But, I was roving the other day at a junior event, and, had to be like an 80-year-old grandmother, just clearly did not know the rules, and she was cheering and just got a little too excited and was telling her, "That's great, hit to the backhand." I don't think anybody objectively looking at this would have said, "Oh, this 86-year-old grandmother is cheating. She is deliberately." But the response that she got from the rover was, "Ma'am, you need to be quiet. You speak again and you're going to be thrown out." And once again, I just kind of cringed, from 2 courts away. I get the reaction and I get the frustration, but take that breath, just take the breath, let it out, and deal with the issue. And there's a classic example where you're just going to want to approach the parent, let them know, "Excuse me, ma'am, you may or may not know this, but you can't give specific direction during the match. And so cheer for your grandson or your son, is a cheer for the person you want as loud and as much as you want, but no specific direction. And if you do it again, we may have to get involved." Use good judgment. You guys remember the 3 circles that I'm always talking about. You have to know the rules, you have to have good procedures and techniques, and you have to have good judgment. And that they all 3 intersect, and we want to be right in the middle, balancing all 3 of those. I want to be clear. Nothing I'm saying should be telling you parents are always right. Nothing I'm saying should be interpreted as you have to, bend over, to every parent that, because they're the customer. No, but we should use some good judgment and take a step back. Okay. And it's not just because someone's yelling out and doing something that they're actively cheating. And so just use some good judgment. And even when we do have that parent who we think is actively cheating, it doesn't hurt to use a little professionalism, to take that breath and to just address it professionally. "Ma'am, you're coaching your son. You cannot coach your son. If you give specific direction, I am going to have to get involved, and either you're going to have to leave or I'm going to have to give code violations." Right. And just take that breath, use all of the de-escalation techniques that we've learned in all of our classes, and remember the phrase, pour no gasoline. Don't be pouring gasoline onto the fire. Ask yourself, is your tone, is your intonation, is your demeanor, is it making the situation worse, or are you de-escalating the situation? And can you possibly view this as an educational opportunity? And having said that, yes, I know it gets frustrating because sometimes it's the same parents day in and day out. But take that breath, deal with the situation. Don't react with anger. All right. I covered a lot very quickly. Any questions that people have? I know I went over and I apologize.
We could have spent the whole hour on this one topic, Anthony, so.
I just want to end on a point that Laura brought up. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I still ask questions. I still call, my friends. I come across things that I'm like, did I handle that correctly? But remember, you're asking questions at the right time. The time for me to not to ask questions is not right as Ken Grassel's trying to get his 6 chair umpires out to court for the finals. That's not the time for me to, oh, Ken, I have 17 questions for you. But, maybe that evening or in the morning at breakfast or something, I'm going to go up to Ken and say, hey, Ken, do you have a few seconds so that I can talk to you about these various questions? So it's ask questions, but make sure you're asking them at the right time. Use your friends, use your mentors. Don't be afraid, you're going to get some critical feedback. That's okay. We've all gotten feedback that we don't want to hear. Take a breath. Even, I think Mari referenced this, even when I don't agree with the feedback, I really do try to take a breath and say, okay, what can I take away from that? What that person told me that I can, try to improve my performance. And so with that, I will turn it back. Please reach out to me. My email's anthonymontero@yahoo.com. I think you all have it, but if there's anything that because of the time I didn't get to answer your question or talk to you about, please just reach out. And with that, I'll turn it back to Ken and Maria.
It looked like Mari had her hand up. Mari, did you have
Oh,
a
so sorry,
question?
Mari.
That's okay. I just, when you were talking about the medical timeout, I had a question that if somebody says, I need a medical, and you say, what's the problem? And they said, I'm cramping.
I know that we tend to not want to give the loss of conditioning, but I think you are better off giving the medical timeout in that situation. You don't know if they're cramping because of its loss of conditioning. You don't know if it's cramping because they have some other physical illness, if it's a symptom of a greater thing. So give the one for loss of conditioning, let them deal with that. And then the second time around, they're obviously not, they're not gonna be able to say, I'm cramping in my left arm, I'm cramping in my right arm, I'm cramping in my left leg, but give the one for loss of conditioning. I know that some people think, well, wait, isn't that pre-existing? Isn't that their fault, etc. But I think you are better off just giving the one loss of condition and moving on from there.
Do you just let them stand for 3 minutes? Do you let them sit down for 3 minutes? Like, how would you handle that?
It's
By
3
letting them-
minutes. So, I would give them a few minutes. I would let them do whatever they need to do. I'm not going to get, I've definitely seen people do things that I think is not going to help cramping, that is not going to help a nosebleed, that is not going to help whatever their issue is. But I don't get involved in that. I'm not going to start making value judgments like, oh, you know what you're doing. Another example, the other day, a junior player said, I have a headache. I want some, and so he took an MTO. The parent came out, gave him some Tylenol. He swallowed it. The official was immediately on it. Okay, treatment complete. Let's go. I would have given him the remaining minute and a half. Even though they're just sitting there, they drank the water. You're letting the Tylenol take effect. What's the minute and a half going to matter in the scheme of the match? But I understood what the official was arguing. Your treatment is complete. You swallowed the Tylenol. There's nothing more the parent can do. I think once again, judgment, just let them have the remaining minute and a half. It's not, it beats the 20-minute argument you're now going to have with the parent,
Yes. So thank you. And any other questions that pop up, please reach out to Anthony, me, section chairs, anyone. We're happy to answer and help if you have any questions that you want resolution to. So we know we ran over a little bit, but we want your opinions on this webinar. Also, if you have any suggestions for a future webinar, we have built some space later on in the series to come up with a viewer's choice topics that we want to go over and discuss. So I'm going to have Maria finish with
well, to take where Ken was going, thank you very much. I apologize for the overage. I think we got a lot of great information. Anthony, thank you. Laura, thank you. Mari, thank you for sharing everything. The world of officiating ain't no picnic, and you guys make the day a little brighter. Up next, on May 20th, we have Up Your Game with Emotional Intelligence. And don't forget to save the date in Pleasanton, California, December 7th through 8th. We are going to be celebrating officials in California. That means a big old party and some continuing education credits. So be there. If there's anything that you need, you guys know how to find everybody. Thank you again for your time. And thank you again to our panel of experts. Have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Before I forget, Maddie.
Hey, lady.
Hey, you. So, hey,
Uh,
thanks again for
Oh.
tonight. It was good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. It was fun. I
Was it
like to
too?
do things fun.
I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do need to get together this summer when I'm down there.
Yes.
forward to
Well,
it.
I'll be seeing you 4 times, I heard.
I know.
That'll be amazing. Thank you for taking that on. That's amazing.
Oh, I think I
We're-
gave too much information, huh? Too much.
No, all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
no, amazing.
Yeah.
That's what they need. They need to be sponges and learn.
Okay.
That's what the
No,
whole
it's just,
thing is.
it's all, you know,